Well, hello everybody again. This is Aaron. I'm a photographer with the Journey Church in Newark, Delaware. So what I'm going to do is show you some real basic Lightroom things on how to upload to Lightroom and then to mess around with some pictures on Lightroom. So let's go to that. So down here, I used Lightroom Classic, so I'll just click on that and it'll open up. And what I'm going to do first is show you um, how to import the pictures onto Lightroom. These are pictures that I've already worked with previously, and so let's start from scratch. So first of all, if you're not real familiar with Lightroom, there's these different modules up here, and we're going to use the one that's library. Okay, so we're going to start with library and come down here to the bottom left, and I'm going to use this import button. So I click on the import, and then this thing pops up. Now, what it's showing right now, I still have my card in the computer and it's showing what's on the card. It kind of defaults to that. But I don't want to take the pictures from my card. I want to take the pictures that I've already transferred to my computer. So I find over here, you can find where you put your images. And so I put them onto this. This is my external drive, this Toshiba EXT, I guess is for external. And then so I click on that. And then I got a bunch of stuff in this external drive and I just slide down here until I find where I put my photos that I want to import. And they're under this folder called the Journey Photos. So I click on that little drop down. I've got 2021 and 22. So I'm in 2022 right now. I click on that drop down, scroll up a little bit. If you notice, all my folders are numbered so that they're in chronological order. It really helps me know which one is the first folder that I used on here, and this one is the last one. So now I'm going to click on this drop down. If you watched my video before on how I set up my folders, I have a raw file and a to share folder. This to share folder doesn't have anything in it right now. I'm going to eventually export my pictures to the to share folder. But right now I'm going to click on raw. Once I click on raw, they look like the same pictures, and it's because they are the same pictures, but they're coming from a different spot. They're coming from my external hard drive instead of the SD card that's already inside my computer. If you look up here, it'll kind of show you the address of where your pictures are, but you can even look at this part right here to see where your pictures came from. Anyway, they're all selected. You don't have to select them all. They're already checked, and I'm just going to hit import. Now, I am not any kind of a pro whatsoever on Lightroom. I use it a lot, but I only do certain things with it. I'm not a pro at this, okay? But I'm just going to show you how I use it. You guys might use it a little bit differently, and that's fine. If you look up here on the left, see it's loading the pictures on the Lightroom, okay, right there. So we'll just let it go through there. I think I have, yeah, 269 photos that I'm putting on here. Now, normally when I shoot a gathering at the Journey, usually I have probably over 1,000 or close to 1,000 photos. But today I didn't shoot that much. I was helping some new photographers today, so I was doing a lot of talking today, so I didn't shoot a ton today. All right, so that didn't take too long. Now, when I have 1,000 pictures, it might take a little while. I might get up and go get something to eat while it loads. But right now, that was pretty quick. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cull the pictures. That word cull, C-U-L-L, means I'm just going to pick out which pictures that I want to edit. I'm not going to go through all 269 pictures, or if I shot normal, like 1,000 pictures, I'm not going to go through all 1,000 pictures and edit every single one, because not every picture is going to be the ones that I want to edit. So I'm going to cull the pictures. C-U-L-L is the word. So what I do to make it a little easier on myself, I just double click on the first one and then it comes up pretty big. I think you could have clicked on this little icon right here, or you could have hit the letter E. I don't know. I just double click on it and then it shows up. So now what I'm going to do, I'm not going to cull the whole entire thing just for the time's sake, but I'll go through quite a few and we'll figure out which ones we want to edit. So now what I'm going to do, you can't see it, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to use the arrow keys, the left and right arrow key on my keyboard. You could just click on the next picture with your mouse. You could do it that way. But what I do is I have one hand, my left hand is hovering over the letter P. The letter P is what I use to pick a picture, okay? What do they call it? If I hit P, they call it flag it. There he goes. You see where it said flag as pick? And then what I'm going to do is hit Control Z right now to get rid of that. So I'm going to flag a pic. So these are flagged pictures, and you'll see a little flag icon. I don't want to pick the first one. So what I'm going to do is just with my left hand on the letter P and my right hand, one finger is on the left arrow, one finger is on the right arrow, and I'm just going to move over until I see a picture that I want to pick. And if you notice, from number 1 to number 9 are basically all the same shot. I just took a whole bunch, and I'm just probably going to pick one of those from the first 9 that I took. So I'm just going to go through here. That one looks pretty good, number 3. I might go back to that. Let's see. Oh, I like that one. He's smiling really nice on that one. I like that one too. Oh, I like that one. I think I like that one the best. That's number 7. So what I'm going to do is hit the letter P, and it says flag as pick, and it actually, this little flag right here turned white, and this little flag right here turned white as well. And if I hover over it, it says photo is flagged. So that's one of the pictures that I'm going to edit. So I flagged it. I picked it. Now, the rest of the time, I'm just going to go through. This is a little bit different, so I might want to pick one of those. All right, so yeah, let's pick that one as well. So I hit P, and then I just keep on going. So my hands are just completely on the keyboard right now. I'm not hitting the mouse at all. Let's see, I kind of like that one. P for that one. Let's keep going. I'm just, oh, I think I like that one where she's, or I like that one. That's pretty good. I could pick 2 or 3 of them if I wanted to, but I don't want to pick too many. I kind of like that one. That's the last one that I took. So I'm going to hit P on that one. Just go through here. Actually, this girl right here, I taught her in high school, and this guy, they're married, and I taught him in high school too. So that's kind of cool. Now they have kids serving at the Journey. So let's see. Those are all kind of the same. I'll pick that one. And then I go through here, and oh, that's a good one. She's got a good smile there. I'll pick that one. Just fly through here. That's another one. Even though it's the same kind of picture, I'm going to pick that anyway. I like both of those. So the people in the area that choose these pictures for the what do you call it, social media folks, you know, we give them a little bit of variety, but I don't want to pick too many of the same scene. I just want to kind of narrow it down. I like that one where they're all raising their hands. I like that one. That one's good too, but I already got him, and I don't see the baby. Kind of like them looking at each other, but I don't think I'm going to use those. This is a little bit closer picture. Let's see. And I keep an eye down here to see how many more I have to choose from. Kind of like that one. I like her expression there. I like her hand, left hand out like that, kind of talking. I don't know. I think, let's see. I'm going backwards. I don't know. I think I like that one the best. So I'm going to hit P for that. Let's go through some more. I'll tell you what. Let's go to the actual gathering now. So I could, oh, I like that. Yeah, I like that one right there. Said I was going to go right to the gathering. Let's do this. I kind of like that. It's a little different. It's a wider shot. I kind of use these 2 guys right here to frame. Maybe I'll go through a video on framing and that kind of stuff some other time, but I'm just picking right now. And we'll get Julianne in there. We'll pick her. Let's see, Julianne, which one do you like the best? Kind of like that one. So we'll pick that one. And then, see, I shoot a lot of the same scene because like this one, if that's the only one that I shot, that was the first one, I think I can get a better expression from her. So I just wait until she keeps talking, kind of like that one. Oh, that's a good one right there. I think I'm going to use that one. So I picked that. All right, now we're at the gathering. So let's see some shots. Here's a little wider shots. Then I got up close to the stage. Let me just, I like her with her hand up in the, oh, I like that. Tell you what, I'm going to do that because I can see her feet. I like that one. I'll pick that one. Kind of like that one. I got like the light there. I like that one. I pick that one. Just going to go through a little faster. See how the lights change? So if you only take one and walk away, then you don't have a variety to choose from. I think I like that. I'm going to pick that one. I went here. One more. Let's pick that one. Get a little bit of the crowd in there and the lights hitting her. And Let's go to Pastor Mark. I usually like, in fact, when I taught the two photographers today, I said, wait until he does some kind of an expression. Don't take a picture when he's just got his hands down. And look at me. I'm just taking a picture when his hands are down. Might be just looking for the correct exposure. But let's get something a little more interesting. That's not bad right there. Let's pick that one. His hands are up a little bit. That's pretty good. I got a lot to choose from because I picked a lot. See right there, his eyes are closed. I don't want that one. That one's pretty good, but his face is turned away a little bit. Oh, that's a good one. I'll pick that one. And then I did some head to toe pictures. That's a good one. I'll pick that. Let's go a little faster. So I finished this up. Then I went straight on. That's a good one with his hands up. I'll pick that one. And then I got some with words on the screen. That's a good one. I'll pick that. And let's keep going. I'm almost at the end. I'll pick that one. It's a little bit closer. And I took a real wide shot at the end. Yeah. Kind of like, let's pick that one right there. All right, so that's everything. So I've picked all the ones that I want to pick. So now what I'm going to do is I just want to show the ones that are flagged, okay, the ones right here. So I do that by this filter. See, it says filters off. If I click on it, I get all these different options right here. What I do is I go to this one that says flagged. What it's going to do, it's only going to show the ones that I picked. So I hit flagged. Now look, every single one of these has that white flag on it. So those are the ones that I chose. All right, so if I scroll over here, and I still don't have to keep them all. I could get rid of them if I see a few like, you know what, I flagged it, but when I thought about it, I don't really like it. So I picked 26 out of 260 some, 269. So if my math is right, that's 10% of what I shot. And that's pretty normal. Okay, me using 10% of what I shoot, it's probably even a little high. Probably like 7 to 10%, I guess. I don't do the math every single time, but I would say about 7 to 10% of the pictures that I shoot do I actually share. All right, so let's go through and actually figure out what to do with these pictures once I've chosen them. Now I go from library and I go to this little thing right here called develop. So I click on that. Now things are going to look a little different. I still have that big picture in the middle. I still got all these thumbnails down the bottom, but this thing's changed over here, and this is definitely changed over here on the right. This is where I do my work. First thing I do is I actually made a preset. I'll just show you what the preset is. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but if you wanted to make your own preset, it's pretty easy. You just click that plus button under presets. It says add new presets, and then you say create preset, and you can name it. Right now I haven't set any parameters for it. I haven't changed anything. Okay, everything's just zeroed out. So setting a preset at all zeros wouldn't really do me any good. But what I did, let me show you my preset. So if I click on this, I called it my name, Hamrick is my last name, so I called it Hamrick preset. If you looked over here, see things aren't zeroed out anymore. Let me Control Z and go back to where I was. See how everything's zeroed out? And now look over here on the right and look what happens when I hit Hamrick preset. It changed some things. It changed the exposure, changed the contrast, because I did that. I changed it. So once you, and I start off every photo with that preset, but I usually make changes after that. And let's see, I changed the clarity, made it plus 20, made the vibrance plus 20, and I think that's the only thing that I did. I made the whites plus 10, the blacks minus 10, the contrast plus 20, the exposure plus 20. Everything else is just zeroed out the way it was shot. But I did make some changes. Sometimes that contrast at plus 20 is too much, so sometimes I'll back it up a little bit. Now, when I shot in here, it looks a little too yellow. So what I want to do is get rid of the yellow. So this is where I really make my changes, okay? So all the rest was just setting everything up. Now is where I really make some changes on this. So I'm going to hit that temperature button, and you see that the words came up right here. I can change it a couple different ways. I could just use the slider, right? And I can make it more yellow, or I can make it super blue. I'm going to hit Control Z to go back to where it was originally. What I do is I hit the temperature, and then I use the minus and the plus key. If I use the minus, it goes down. All right, you see the numbers? It started off what, at 3150, I think. And then I go down, and it's going by what, 50s? And if you notice, look at the skin tone on Brad. It's getting bluer and bluer and bluer. Obviously, I don't want it that blue. So I'm going to go up to, and this is just where you think looks good, okay? Some of you guys are going to be looking at this and like, oh, I liked it a lot better the way it was. But I kind of like it about like that. And if you want to see a before and after, I don't use this part right here, but I think you can, it's this one right here. Yeah, you could use this. See where it says Y and Y? You can do that, see a before and after. If you just want to see the one picture again, you can see that. If you want to, there's above the enter key, at least on my keyboard, above the enter key, there's a little slash button. And if I click that slash button, see right here where it says before? That's what it originally was before. And then I hit the slash again. And that's the last thing that I changed. So that's before and that's after. All right. And so that's how you could do it. If you'd rather do this, you could do that and compare them side by side. That's a good way as well. And there's all kinds of different options with this. I'm not going to go through that. You can play around with it because I want to finish this up pretty soon here. And you can change some things. If you think that's a little too bright, you could change the slider and make it a little darker. Okay, you can make it brighter. If you go to the right, you can make it darker. If you go to the left, obviously that's too much. So I'm going to hit Control Z to go back to where I was. Sometimes if you want to do it just a little bit at a time without using the slider, click on that word exposure and then hit the minus key. See, it's making it lower. So I had it at plus 0.2. If I hit the left key, it goes plus 0.1, and then it's at 0, then it's minus 0.1, and so on. And so you can mess around with it to where you want it. I kind of like it maybe at minus 0.1. I think that looks pretty good. I think everything else is fine. I don't even think I'm going to crop this one. So I'll just leave it like that. Now, once I leave it like that, then I can go to the next picture. The nice thing about using Lightroom, it's called that's not deconstructive. What is it? Anyway, it's not destructive. I think maybe they just say that. It's non-destructive, I think is the word that they use all the time, which means I could always come back to this picture and then mess around. If later I look at it, I'm like, you know what? I don't know what I was thinking. That didn't look good at all. I can go back and change it. Even after you've exported everything, you could go back and change and maybe just export that one picture. That's really cool. You can't do that in Photoshop, but in Lightroom, that's what I love about Lightroom. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, here's another thing that I do. I'll show you a little trick. Since all of these were pretty much in the same lighting area, the same lighting situation, what I do is I go back to the first one. I made some changes. I changed the color, the white balance, and that kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this word copy right here. So if I hit copy, you could also hit Control C. That will do it as well. In fact, I usually do Control C instead of hitting that copy button. Just it's a little quicker. My hands are already on the computer. I just hit Control C. Now, it's got all these things that you can copy. I think whatever's defaulted is fine. So you could just hit right here, copy. And now when I go to the next one, if I go to number 2 picture, then I hit paste, or you can hit Control V. Control C and Control V is copy and paste. If I hit that paste or Control V, what it's going to do right here, see how everything's zeroed out? What I'm going to do is come over here, hit paste, and now it takes that last picture that I just copied, and it takes the same changes that I made, and it makes it to that image right there. So that's kind of a cool, quick way of doing it. You don't have to go through those sliders every single time. As long as your lighting is pretty much the same, I would do that. All right, so that's can be really, really helpful. Let's do a crop on this. Okay, we'll do a little bit of a crop. So you could hit this button right here. That little tool right there is a crazy little cropping tool. We actually used to use a physical tool back in the day when I used to crop things when I worked on the yearbook. We would use a tool like this. And that's why it looks like that, because it's actually based on something that was used back in the day. But if you click on it, if you look at in parentheses, it says R. R is the keyboard shortcut. So let's do that instead of actually clicking on the crop button. So right now I'm going to hit the letter R, just the letter R. Don't hit Control R, just the letter R, and it turns into this. Gives you these little handles, and then you can move it around. Now what I do is I make sure, actually let's hit Control oops, sorry about that. Let's hit this crop button just to get out of the crop. Once I hit crop, you can change some things. You can change, I keep it original because I don't want to crop it as a square or some other shape. I want to keep it the same proportion at which I shot it. All right, so I'll keep it at original. And then this little lock right here, you can unlock it or you can lock it. If you unlock it, I believe, yeah, see what it does? You can make it all kinds of different shapes. I would rather not do that. If I hit Control Z, it goes back to where it was. So I'm going to lock it so that it stays. Now watch what happens now that it's locked. If I click and drag, doesn't matter where my mouse goes, it stays in the same proportion. And I really recommend that you don't crop so that they're squares or they're skinny or anything like that. Okay, just crop so it stays in the same exact proportion as what you shot it. So what I'm going to do, Brad's kind of blurred and he's got his back to me, so I'm just going to use him as a framing device, and I'm going to use my buddy, my former student JP, and his wife Katie. I'm going to use them as pretty much my main subject, and I'm going to crop it right here. And you can just use this hand tool and move it all around to where you want it to be. This could be for another lesson, but it's broken up into thirds. There's a thing called the rule of thirds, and that's pretty important, and I like to have the rule of thirds on there. So my main subject, I like to have on one of these intersection marks on the rule of thirds. So I'm going to probably put it right there. That's maybe for another video. Now, in order to crop it like that, I hit the Enter key, and then it crops it just like that. So I kind of like that a little bit better. Some of you may not like it. If you don't like it, hit R. Maybe you want to move it over a little bit like this and then hit Enter, so you can fix what you did. You're not locked into this. You can always go back and mess with it. All right, let's do a few more and we'll end this video. We've done enough inside of there. Let's scroll over to the gathering itself. So let's do one of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my, oh, you know what I got to do? Let's go back. Sorry about that. Let's go back to the first one. I almost forgot about this. Look at my ISO that I used in here. Inside of this area of the church, it's kind of dark. It doesn't look like it to your eyes, but it is kind of dark. And I had to shoot at ISO 3200. That's a pretty high ISO. So what I like to do, if I can zoom in, so this turns in, it goes from an arrow, if you put it in here, it turns into this like magnifying glass. If I just click on it, it zooms in. If I click on it again, it zooms back out. Or if you hit, I think it's the Shift key. No, it's not. It's the Control key. If I hit the Control key, hold it, and then, Control, hold it, and drag, I can zoom in a lot closer. If you look, see how it's kind of speckled looking right here? That's called digital noise, or back in the day, in the film days, we called it grain. And this is not too bad. This looks pretty decent to me anyway. It looks okay. I could probably just keep it like that, but there is something that I do to a lot of these photos when I have it, especially when I shoot at maybe 1600 or higher. I usually do this. I'm just going to scroll down until you get to this area that says detail. When you're using Lightroom, it may not be opened up. Okay, so when I come down here, you see detail. It may not be opened up, but you click this little triangle and it opens up detail. So I usually use this one thing. It's called noise reduction. Now you don't want to overdo it, but usually I click on it and drag it, and what it does, it smooths out. See how it smoothed out his face and those little speckled areas? So this is before, okay? And that's before we actually made our white balance changes as well. But that's before, that's after. Just look at the grain, before, after. Pick a spot like this area right here where it's this color. But that's before, I'm sorry, that's after. This is before, and that's after, before and after. And maybe look at his eyes, before, after, or his face, his skin tone. It just takes away some of that digital noise. So I kind of like it right there. And sometimes if I'm doing all these, I would copy this one more time. So I would copy it like this, and then I would go to this one. I've zoomed in, let me zoom out again. And then I would hit Control V, or I would hit P for paste. It didn't look like it really did anything right there, but if you zoom in, This is before and that's after, before and after, and it helped a little bit, right? Don't go too crazy on it, because if you go too crazy, let's go back to this noise reduction and let's zoom in so you can see him a little bit. Oh, he's really close now. So if I do it, see, it's smoothed out. You don't see any digital noise, but it looks real fake. All right, so you don't want to do that. It looks too smooth. All right, so you don't want it too smooth. You still want it to look pretty decent. So around 3200, when I shoot at 3200, usually I put my luminance, my noise reduction to about 30. You could also click on here and type in 30. That would work as well. So 30 usually works pretty well. But always look at your ISO. If I shot another one at a real low ISO, I would take my noise reduction and take it back to 0 again. If I'm shooting at 100, I don't need any noise reduction. It's just going to over smooth your photo, and it's going to take a lot of detail away. So you don't want to do that. So let's do a couple of these pictures and I'll finish. I promise. I know I'm going too long. I'm sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Hammer preset and see what that looks like. That usually works pretty well. And let's scroll up to here. It just added the exposure of 0.1 or 0.20, just added. So here's before, here's after, before, after. So it added a little pop to it, added a little more exposure. To tell you the truth, I think that's pretty good right there. I don't think I have to change any of my white balance or anything like that. Some people, now when I shot this in the tungsten setting on my camera. Actually, I might have gone to the Kelvin and changed it a little bit too, but I changed it from what my camera would normally do. I would not shoot in here under auto white balance. Auto white balance is going to make everything look too yellow. And I've seen that on a lot of people's pictures, is that it looks way too yellow. So what I would do, if it did look too yellow, you can fix that in here. That's what's great about Lightroom. I would take this and then I would move it. See how it's making it too blue right now? But if my picture was too yellow, if my picture looked like this originally, which I've seen a lot of pictures look too yellow, maybe not quite that much, maybe about like that. So if it looks like that, what you can do is just take this little slider and just move it down until it looks a little bit more natural. You don't want it too blue. You still want a little bit of warmth in there, but that looks pretty decent, about right in there. So that's the big thing that I would do when I'm shooting anybody on stage. Okay, so that actually looks pretty decent. Let's check my ISO. I shot at 1000. I was with my wide angle lens and it only opens up to f4. So I had to be at 1000 to shoot at that. So I'm going to change a little bit, not as much. Oops, accidentally. There we go. There's my noise reduction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on luminance. I'm just going to hit the plus button and I'm going to change it to, let's see, 1000. I probably change it to maybe 20, and that's about it. It's a subtle difference, but oh, that looks blurry. What in the world? Let's see, what did I shoot at? I shot at 200th of a second. That doesn't look very sharp. I should have picked another picture, and I'll probably go back. Do you see that little blur right there? See, even at 200th of a second, it's a little bit blurry. That's not super great. I'll pick another picture that might look a little bit better. Maybe like this one. I think this one I used my 85 and my shutter speed. It was still at 200th, but let's see if it looks any better. Yeah, I don't see that blur that I saw earlier. That's really zoomed in a lot. Let's see his hands. Yeah, see, I don't see any of that blur. So I would probably go back and not use this picture. I know it looks okay right here, but then when I zoom in, she looks a little bit blurry. He looks a little bit blurry. Yeah. So that just shows you what 200th of a second, if they're moving around, 200th of a second might make them a little bit blurry. So keep that in mind. Let's go to another picture. I use that lens right here. I'm going to hit Hammer preset, click on that. It looks a little bit too dark, so I'm going to go to exposure. I'm going to click the plus button. I'm going to go quite a bit. So that changed it quite a bit. Okay, so here's before and here's after. Before and after, definitely. Let's zoom in. Okay, looks really digital noise is going on here, so I'm going to change that. And I usually just hit the plus button. I don't know why. I could just click in 30. Let's change that. I'm at ISO. See, that looks a lot better. So let's go before, after, before, after. Yeah, that looks pretty decent right there. So that's probably what I would do on that picture. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control C to copy it. And now if I go to the next picture, like this one right here, then I'm going to hit Control V, and it just put the same exact settings in there. So I don't have to do that scrolly thing with all these settings every single time. It even changed my noise reduction to 30. All the stuff that I did on this last picture, it moved it over to here. So that looks a lot better. And that looks pretty sharp. So 200th is good. It just depends how much they're moving. If they're moving a lot, you may get a little blur. Or it could have been from me. I might have been a little shaky holding the camera, so that could have been it too. All right, let's go to Pastor Mark. Let's just pick one of these. I think I like this one right here. So first thing I could just do the Control V, see what that looks like. It's the same, it'll be the same settings that I shot before, but now I'm using a different lens. If you come over here and look, I'm using a different lens, an 85mm. So I was at f2, which lets in a lot more light. I kept the same shutter speed, but look at my ISO. My ISO was 1000 and now it's only 250. So I shouldn't get that much digital noise. So if you look in here, I don't see really any noise at all to this. So I don't have to change my noise reduction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit just this Hamrick preset. Again, I made those presets myself. You can make your own presets if you want. It looks a little bit, I don't have to go that close when I do the zoom in. So, oops, hit Control, and then let's just zoom in to there. That looks a little bit better. So I'm zoomed in a little bit, but it looks a little bit better. You could always come in here and zoom in as well. Come in here and change how much you want to zoom. You could do, there's a bunch of ways you could do that. Let's actually zoom in a little bit closer. So I'm going to hit Control, and let's zoom in about right there. There you go. So that looks a little bit better. All right, so that looks pretty good. I don't know if I'm going to change a whole lot on this. Let's just see what it would do if I make this a little bit bluer. See, that's too blue right there. I still want a little bit of warmth. You don't want it looking like this. Okay, so I would, again, it just depends. That took quite a lot of the blue out of the skin. Now it's a little bit of a hot spot right here. So here's another thing. I'm not going to show you all the things that Lightroom can do, but here's something that I do quite a bit. I'll take highlights and I'll drop it down. You just got to be careful. It didn't make the whole thing. See, if I go up, it basically didn't touch anything but the highlights or anything that's got some brightness in it. I'm going to drop it maybe just down a little bit. There's other ways you could do it. You could just take this little spot and just take that and highlight it. Too much for this video. I'm just showing you super basics right now. Let's crop this. I hit the letter R to crop. I'm going to grab a corner, bring it in here, slide this around. I kind of like that. Hit enter, and there you go. This is called rule of thirds. So if, again, I hit the, see how his face is on this left third right there? That's kind of where I like to put that if he's looking to the right. If he was looking to the left, or if I was on the other side, then I would put him on this side looking that way. So that looks pretty decent right there, I think. So I think that's good. Let's do one more where we got all these colors and stuff. Again, I'm going to hit my Hamrick preset, or if I wanted to, since I just finished this one, I could hit Control C, copy my changes with that, come over here, and then hit Control V and change it to that. That looks pretty decent. Except this one looks a little crooked. This part of the stage looks a little higher than this. So I'm going to just slightly, if you take that crop tool on the outside of here and click, it turns into all those things, but then drag it just a little bit. See, it's actually straightening him up a little bit. So what I'm going to, whoops, let's do this. What I'm going to do, let's put it about right there. So what I was looking at when I hit that, this thing, I don't know what it's called, that rotate tool. Okay, when I hit that rotate tool, I'm looking for a spot. I was looking right here. And watch all those lines. See how it's not even with that blue bar right there? I'm trying to even up so it looks pretty flat. Hit enter, and now it looks a little bit better. Okay, so that's nice and flat, nice and horizontal. I could crop this in a little bit too. Normally I tell people not to put the head right in the middle, but on this one, I'm okay with that because I want to see these lights. I want to see his feet. I want to see a little bit of the people's heads. So I'm okay with that, even though he's dead center. Usually I tell people don't put him smack dab in the middle. I think his shirt's a little bit washed out. It's a little bit white. So what I'm going to do is take this highlight and drop it down just a little bit. And now you see some details. That's before, that's after, before and after. It's subtle, but I think it looks a lot better now. Okay, so once we get all that, now we have to export them, and let's do that super quick. The way to export them, though, is we're going to go to Library. Now, I know I didn't make a lot of changes on these, but I'm going to export everything. I'm not going to go through and unclick the ones that I didn't edit, okay? Normally, I would edit everything, and then I would export everything. So I'm going to go to Library. Now you see that import export that we saw earlier. So you don't see all those things where you can change the exposure over here. So what I want to do is I want to hit export. Actually, I'm sorry. Before I do that, notice it says only one is selected. See, I've got 26 of 269 photos. They're the ones that are flagged, but I only have one selected. So I'm going to select them all. So just like we did earlier or in the last video, I'm going to hit Control A. Control A selects them all. And if you look now, see where it says 26 are selected? Now it's taken every single one of them and it's going to select those. If I just wanted to select one of them, let's see. Yeah, if I hit the Shift key and then click on it, it just selects one. So I could do this. I could just go through the ones that I fixed. Let's do that. I fixed this one. See, it's only one selected, but then I'm going to hit Control. It's going to select that one. See, if you see those little icons down here at the bottom, that tells me I did something different with the pictures. I'm going to slide over. Remember, I messed with that picture, but it was a little bit blurry, so I'm not even going to pick that one. I'll pick this one, though. So again, I hit Control, and I select it. So look, I've selected 3 of them. I've only selected the ones that I've actually made changes to. All right, this one, but you got to hit the Control key to be able to make sure that they're all selected. See, now I've got 4 selected. I fixed this one, so I'm going to hit that one. That's selected. Hit Control, that one. Remember, you got to hit Control. And then, so now I'm only going to select 6 of them. So now when I hit Export, I'm only exporting those 6 that I fixed. So now I hit Export. Now you got to do a bunch of stuff over here. Here's what I usually do. Just maybe take a picture or pause it or something like that of this. I export it to a specific folder. So it gives you all these different things you can export it to, but I put specific folder. And then I come over here and I choose my folder. So if I choose my folder, what I'm going to do is go back to my Toshiba, my external hard drive. I'm going to scroll down and find out where I want to put these pictures. Well, I put them under the journey photos, so I double click on that, 2022. I scroll all the way down to the bottom. This is the one that I just did. All right, I'm going to go to share. There's nothing in that folder right now. I'm going to go to share, and now I just hit select the folder. Now, look what it does. It puts it under the journey photos 2022, July 10th, and to share. That's where they're going to go. And right here, I'm going to make sure that I go to custom name and sequence. If you click on it, there's all kinds of other things that you could click on, but I like to put my own custom name. And I click on this box that says rename to. And this is what I named my previous thing that I edited. This was for my own family. We had a July 4th picnic, but I'm not going to call it that. I call it the same thing every single time. I call it the journey. And then I put the date, July 10, 2022, and then by a dot hammer. All right. And now I put the start number to 1. So then it's going to look like this. It says example. This is exactly what it's going to look like. And you can change your extensions. You can do all that kind of stuff. I just keep it lowercase. That's, oh, here's another thing that I don't think about doing because I don't have to change it every single time. But you may want to do this. Make sure I export them as JPEGs, even though I shot them as RAW. I don't want to export them as RAW. I want to make sure that they're JPEGs. And then I put the quality all the way up to 100. It may default to a lower quality, but I put it all the way to 100 and I make this JPEG. So you could click on it and you got all these different other ways you could format them. I make sure it's JPEG. My color space, RGB, that's what I keep. I wouldn't mess with any of the other stuff. I don't think there's anything else that you have to change. Tell you the truth, I'm not sure about the resolution. That's pretty high resolution, but that's okay. We'll keep them pretty high resolution just in case they need to use them for something like really big. Once I got all that stuff ready to go, then I hit export. And then if you look up here to the top left, it shouldn't take too long because I only have 6 files here. Usually you see this little bar going through here. Maybe it takes a while for it to pop up. There it goes, boom, boom, boom. And a lot of times I'm exporting like 100 or more pictures, so it takes a little bit longer. But I wait till it all exports, it's all finished. So I'm done with Lightroom. I'm finished with that. I can close it out if I want. But I'm gonna go to my folder. I'm gonna go to my Toshiba folder. I'm gonna go to the journey. I just wanna make sure it's there. Get 2022. You've seen where all my stuff is now. And then I'm going to go to share. There they are. So those are the images. If I want to see them bigger, I go to view, hit extra large icons, and there they are. Those are the pictures that I edited and I put on here. So they're ready to go. I can take these and I can upload them to the Google Drive folder with the journey. Talk to Julianne about getting access to that if you don't have it already. If you do, you probably already know how to do this. Maybe I'll make another video on that, maybe not, I don't know. But that's how you use Lightroom. Sorry, I've talked too long already. So that's it. I hope this helped you understand a little bit about Lightroom. There's a whole lot more I could talk about when it comes to Lightroom, but I just wanted to do some real basic stuff here. Hopefully that helps you. This is what I go through every single time that I do this. I'll probably have to go back and do some more editing, and I'll put more of these pictures up on the Google Drive. But I just wanted to do a handful just so you can kind of see what my way of doing the pictures on Lightroom is. All right, that's enough. I'll be quiet. Have a great day. And as always, what do they say? Enjoy the journey.